We are live. Hi,
Hey, we
everybody.
fixed it. Can you believe
I
it?
see what you did there, sir. Very good.
I had spilled soup on YouTube, and YouTube stopped working. That's what happened.
Have we ever started on time? Ever?
Yeah, we start
we
on
actually
time
we
more
start on
often than
time.
not.
Yeah, pretty much all the time. Actually,
Listen,
yeah.
this isn't Get Good where we start 20 minutes late every episode. Sometimes 30.
I'm one of those people that I don't like it when people are late.
Yeah, but
I don't
you're
like
late
being late.
all the time.
I'm not
It's
late.
kind of a double-edged sword.
No,
You ever
I'm
notice
not.
that?
When am I late? I'm not late.
You're,
I'm
I
never
mean,
late. I'm always
you're
early.
kind of late.
He's early.
I mean,
I'm always early.
I mean, you know,
When
we'll
am
just
I
say
late? I'm not
we'll just
late.
agree to disagree on that one, Nate.
What was that expression? You're 15 minutes early is on time, or if you're on time.
if you're
late
on
or
time,
something?
you're
yeah,
already
if
late.
You're late. Yeah, if you're
Yeah.
earlier
But
on time.
does that
you're on
apply
time,
now
you're
to the
late,
world
you're
of Zoom?
fired.
Because there's nothing worse than
should,
like
though.
showing. No, but here's the thing: like, if you show up early and you're just sitting there staring at a screen and no one's there, like, what's the point? Like, why? What are you early to?
What? I know.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
always
But
the
it's when
first
you're
one.
sitting there staring and you can't start the meeting because, 3 people haven't showed up, or Paul starts the
Yeah.
meeting and he's the only one there. It's like, Jesus, Paul, it's 2 minutes before. Can you wait?
I hope Paul's listening to this. Paul's
Hi, Paul.
for
Yeah,
everyone
hi,
who's
Paul.
listening. Paul's somebody we work
Creed's
with.
listening. He's reporting it back to Paul.
Yeah, he's like, they're talking
Yes.
shit about you on Trailer Talk, Paul.
I feel
like,
like
I
a
don't
girl
care.
with a wedding ring. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see that?
my-
You see that nice new Couch Soup
Oh,
merch? Yeah.
we got some
very nice.
Couch Soup
Sexy.
merch. Yes, yes.
Available at
It's-
couchsoup.com/store. Get yours
Yeah.
now.
I'll get it.
Yeah,
I'll
no,
put
we
the
got
link in the
some
chat.
cool stuff on there. We're actually testing out some products, so it's we're excited to launch that. It's kind of in a beta, so order at your own risk. But it all looks like it's working.
Order at
So
your own risk.
go over there, check it
That's
out.
fair.
Before we go any further, he's been silent this whole time. I
know.
think he
You
said
have a
hi,
friend
but
here, Drew.
we have a friend, my longtime friend of like 20 plus years from Kentucky. Chris Mills is joining us. Just before Chris says anything, yay, Chris!
Hey everybody.
We used to nerd out all the time. We would literally like watch Star Wars, watch Lord of the Rings, and then when any of us had like questions of like, you know what, like what is going on here, we would all look. The room would go silent, and then everyone just turn and look at Chris and be like, and then Chris would like, push his glasses up yeah. So the square root fraction of the Silmarillion is, I don't know. He would just basically nerd out
Thank
with
you
us.
for that portrayal, Drew.
Yeah. No.
You're
I just wanted.
basically saying Chris didn't get laid till much later in life. Is that what
No,
you're
Chris
saying?
actually, no, that's the thing. He was so smart. He got laid before any of us because the chicks dug his super just intelligence on this stuff.
Thank you.
So
PJ.
not only is he amazing in Lord of the Rings, but he actually is actually probably smarter.
He's a
than me in
really
Star
good
Wars.
lover.
He's a great lover. So I don't want to set expectations too high. I know, Chris, I don't want to coin you as the expert on all things Tolkien.
Oh, we are.
But I do. But you know
There's a
lot of
lower
shit.
third right now in front of you that says the
I know a lot.
eminent voice of Lord
I mean,
of the
he knows a
Rings.
lot of shit. So
I'm creating it right now.
yeah. So, dude, I'm excited to have you on it because I'm gonna be honest. I know some of you haven't watched this trailer yet, but I watched it the other day, and I left with more questions than answers of like what the fuck is going on in this thing. So, I'm excited to kind of get some of those questions.
I'm
answered by
excited
you.
Chris is on because I actually believe you now when you say you have a friend.
I know.
I know. It's
Chris
I
is the
like,
pay
paid
the rest
actor,
of
talk
you
we all
about it
know.
all the time.
And
it's like,
I will
I
send
have
Chris-
friends, they're in college.
Yeah.
They live in
I
Canada.
have friends. They're in Canada.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Well, I'll send Chris money after this, and that transaction will
Yeah,
be
I
done.
thought so. Yeah. Paid actor for sure.
Cut to the after clip going, Chris is just, so Drew, what's your last name again?
Who do I make this out to?
Drew and I go way back. It is Drew, right? Is it Andrew?
Right. Yes.
Hey,
Josephine?
wait,
Josephine.
is your real name Andrew?
No.
No.
It's
It is
food.
Oh, it's
true.
just me.
Just true.
Okay, phew.
Yeah.
Mind blown there.
No, there's just
He was like, "You've been lying to me all of this time." If
PJ's
you're
not a
Nolan, it's
PJ.
Josephine.
Josephine?
Josephine. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right, so we're going to watch Star Wars. Let's get her up. Let's go.
No. God damn it.
God damn it. We brief him
Star
every
Trek.
time.
I'm gonna throw it to Chris. Chris, give us the log line for this show. Like, what is going on? Like, what is the Rings of Power? Why does it exist? And what is it about?
So you've seen the Lord of the Rings movie, presumably, and you know that It in the prologue, it tells that Sauron made all these rings of power that he gifted to different races, and then he secretly made the One Ring. So this is basically telling the story and all of the tertiary events around that era when he created the rings of power and why and how that all went down, basically.
How many times did you read the books?
I couldn't tell you. I've read. I used to read Lord of the Rings once a year. I don't really read it front to back so much anymore. I've been reading it with my wife and daughter a little bit, but I tend
What
to,
is it
to
that
go to
appeals to
split
you?
sections and.
Why that? Because I love Lord of the Rings. Don't get me wrong; it's my favorite fantasy series. I just don't like reading high fashion. I can't take the
high fiction?
hypostrophes. High fashion, high fantasy.
High
I
fan-
can't
Yeah.
read high fantasy. I can't keep track of the names, and there's maps I gotta
Oh.
look at, and it
Yeah.
just doesn't appeal to me. But watching it, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, that if you don't like to keep track of names, definitely don't read the Silmarillion because it's the worst, and it's way worse than Lord of the Rings. But I don't know. I also don't really like to read high fantasy as a rule, apart from Tolkien. I kind of feel like he really invented something, and he came from a background as a medievalist and kind of started a tradition that other people want to emulate. And I'm not saying that their work is not good. It's just I also find it not as enjoyable to.
What's that
to
story
them
where
read.
he had to rewrite some whole section of it because the moon cycle was out, or
Yeah,
something like that?
famously he described something as being by the light of the full moon, and then realized when he looked at his timetable that the moon wouldn't be full to the next day, so he just rewrote the whole thing.
Wow. That's
He
awesome.
actually, when he
so
started out,
specific.
Christopher Tolkien, his son, published the history of Middle Earth, and if you read the history of Lord of the Rings, he starts the story and he gets all the way up to Bree, and then says, "Okay, wait a minute, this is not working," and starts all the way over again. And then he gets all the way up to Weathertop and says, "Okay, something's not right," starts it over, and you can read these iterations and see the evolution of the story as
Like
it
Drew's
goes.
first 3 marriages.
Wait a minute.
What?
I have
What?
3?
Second.
God damn it. I thought
Yeah,
those
that's
were
fascinating. And then, how long did it take him to write the first one? Do you know?
Decades.
Yeah,
The
it
first
did,
Lord of the
right?
Rings or
It
Hobbit?
took like forever. What
Yeah,
what
it
was
did.
written first, The Hobbit or
The
Lord of the
Hobbit.
Rings?
Yes,
was
and
first.
those questions are the answers in those questions. So in 1937, he published The Hobbit, and it was a great success. But it's mainly like a chapter book for your children at bedtime. You can read a chapter every night, and then they wanted more. They asked for something else, and he tried to publish the Silmarillion, and they what are these elves and names and what is this shit? No,
we
went
already
wrong.
have a Bible.
So,
What are you doing?
I mean,
Enough names in the
started
Bible.
out intending to write another sequel, basically a sequel to The Hobbit that was in the same sort of tone and lighthearted. But as he went, he realized, no, this is all part of the greater legendarium, and it became more serious. So that's why
That's
it took him
crazy.
so long.
I would like to have had a drink with that guy, or
Right.
5.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just like, what would be in his head? To, oh, fuck, the moon cycle's out. I'll be back in a second.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on?
But I
in
just
that writer's head?
I want to romanticize it and think that like I want to like imagine his book writing room where it's like this dark like cave like Hobbit hole, you know, with books around and like, you know, I don't know, you know, you
Do you
just
think
want
he
to
was
like
a cosplayer?
He's just
Like, do you
writing
think he
it
put it
costume.
on
But-
to write? and
yeah,
to
but it
get
was for
into
like
the
Care
vibe?
Bears, you know.
He was very much a stuffy old English professor in a lot of ways. He even in his lifetime looked down on people having Lord of the Rings themes, weddings, and naming their children after Lord of the Rings characters and things like that.
Well,
So
they should be looking.
definitely not a cosplayer.
Excuse me. Hello. Sorry, Chris. I had a Lord of the Rings themed wedding. So,
You did?
yeah.
Yeah.
Our vows were
That's why
like
she's
from,
still in
like, a
Ireland and
quote
not
from the
hasn't
movie
been offered a
and-
job in America yet.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. That is the reason. I'm top class nerd. My husband's in chat here somewhere as well. So yeah, we did.
Hey, listen, I got married as Elvis, so all the power to you.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you can't talk.
I got married as Drew, so that'll show.
Yeah, but
all
I
of it.
married you. I
That's
don't know which
true.
is worse.
As Elvis.
Oh, that is true. Yeah.
It was a beautiful ceremony.
We're just a
I want
collective
Elvis-
of like weird weddings.
Come on, that would more people laughed in that wedding ceremony than any wedding ceremony I ever seen.
Well, it's a low bar, buddy. Everybody,
Yeah.
I didn't see a joke.
And then everybody was drunk for
Majority is just
hours.
priests.
That's true. We've been
Like-
drinking.
like-
We've been
like
drinking
you-
for like.
Drew was
all
just
day.
holding Kristen up there. I don't even think she
That's-
remembered.
I think
saying
she was
that.
holding me up, mate. I think it's the other way around.
All right, let's watch this trailer because I am dying to hear what Chris has to say about this.
I haven't seen this trailer either. Like I've been avoiding
I
this
haven't
trailer
either.
for
Okay,
a
all right.
while.
Oh,
'cause
I
didn't
have
wanna
not
spoil
seen
it.
but-
Well,
Yeah, I
I
think we're all
can't
on the
believe I
same boat.
know anything about it.
Okay.
I'm really excited.
Oh,
About
you
this.
you'll want to know.
I
I
want
have
to
a
know.
feeling. Yeah, I mean,
All right, counter down, Pagan.
I will. Okay, let's go. In 3, 2, 1, play.
There was a time.
Do we
when
need to
the world
describe this
was
for
so
you,
young.
Chris? They're panning.
No,
over
no, I
everything.
Oh, there's the Pellman drop.
So pretty.
is
There
that
had not
Gladriel?
yet been a sunrise.
Aw, beautiful. We
even
kind of saw
there-
this before, though.
There
I'm already getting goosebumps.
Oh, the 2 trees.
Here we go. Here we go.
How much did this cost?
This has to be a prologue.
Stunning.
elves have forests to protect.
Oh, wow.
Is that Rivendell?
Faris.
I think so. Is
No,
that Moria?
I don't think it would be
Fields
yet.
of
No.
grain.
Okay.
But we Harfoots have each other.
We Harfoots. I love the
Kind of
accent.
sounded Irish almost, but
We're safe.
maybe.
You have fought long enough, Galadriel.
Galadriel and
Put up
Elrond
your
look
sword.
I'm gonna buy that sword.
The enemy is still out there. The question now is where?
It is over.
You have not seen what I've seen.
I have seen my share.
You have not seen.
Oh shit, that's gnarly.
Whoa.
What I have seen.
That guy's a spear through his chest.
Darkness will march over the face of the earth. It will be the end, not just of our people, but all peoples.
Seems to have every
What's all
bit
the, like,
of
fairy
the
dust?
epic scope of the film could be wrote.
Oh,
Past is with us all.
cool.
Past is dead. We either move forward
Ooh.
or we die with it.
This could be the beginning of
Who
a
is
new
that? I
era.
wonder? Oh wow, what is, dude?
Ooh.
Wow.
It's gorgeous. Wow.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
2nd of September, come at me, bro. Okay, go.
Some
Go, go,
prime?
go, 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 go.
All I kept thinking was all these people to wait in line for now at cons.
Oh, I will wait. I will stand there.
No, it was
and
all
wait,
these new
sir.
faces.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I mean, listen, I've never been more thankful that we spend so much money on toilet paper and paper goods and everything that we buy on Amazon Prime for them to spend
this.
so much money to make this show possible, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
like it's sort of like, it's all worthwhile. You know what? Kristen, go spend more money on Amazon. They
Is
need
that
it.
the last trailer? Is that the last trailer?
No, mate, that's like the 3rd teaser trailer. So there's probably like another
Is it only a
final.
teaser?
That was a teaser?
That's supposed to be a teaser. Yeah,
How is that
that's
a
supposed to be a
teaser?
teaser
It shows
trailer.
us
I
so
thought
I
I
don't
read
know.
they
I don't
dropped
know.
it.
That
They
was
don't.
a
Amazon never.
trailer.
I don't know if they know how to do marketing. They're
Who's going
It's
first?
Amazon.
Call it a
They're
teaser. It'll be
logistics.
fine.
Listen, I'll jump in real quick. I just want to say, that it's beautiful. You can see the money being spent.
Yeah.
It looks awesome. I have zero idea what's going on. The trailer does a pretty, unless you really like, because they don't really name anybody. Like, I think Galadriel's the only person you actually like understand who that might be, but everyone else is just speaking without any sort of context of like who that person is. That might be Elrond. I have no idea. I don't know who any of
It
these.
is Elrond.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the trailer doesn't tell you that, right? Like you have to
This is
sort
true.
of assume. So, I'm just gonna say, like it shows off a lot of great things, like it like the giant statues. It's like the beautiful landscapes. It feels like Lord of the Rings. It feels like Tolkien. But I have no idea like who anybody is, what's going on. There's like a VO, and they're talking about bad guys, and like they're still out there. And I've seen things. But I have no idea what they're talking about. It's just sort of very ominous, big worldly. It feels like a teaser, right? Trailer. There's not a lot of information being given here, which is cool because that gets me excited. But I have more questions than answers. I will be buying like all of the cosplay stuff, like the sword that
Yes.
Galadriel throws into the snow. I want that. I want to put it on my wall right now. I want the like model of like the ship going through like that doorway. That looks dope.
Yeah,
Like I kind of want, like I could see like the toys already that I'm going to like spend way too much money on, or like whatever they're going to sell me at a con. I'm already in. But yeah, I don't know. It looks. I wasn't that excited about this. I was like, it's a TV show, Lord of the Rings. How is it going to compete with like the movies? Like Peter Jackson just did an incredible job. Like I just don't want it to feel like a TV show. You know what I'm saying? I want it to be more epic in scale, but this feels pretty epic. So this,
this
I think
makes
this
me want
sort
to
of,
see the show.
yeah, this chiseled away a little bit of that skepticism for me because this feels very Game of Thrones budget. So which feels
The one,
exciting.
you know,
Well, Creedus just
can
said
I
that-
jump off?
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, like Creedus said, just regarding the budget, that it's 60 million an episode.
That's insane. That's
Yeah,
fucking
it's
insane.
the highest
Per
budgeted
episode.
series yet. 60
Jesus,
million.
it better be
sorry.
good.
But there's
Yeah.
only like 4 episodes. I have no.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know.
no, and every actor is unknown.
Do we even know? Is that known? What number of episodes at this point?
I don't know. I
It's
don't
gotta be
think
at
so.
least
I haven't
three
seen
seasons
anything
or-
about it.
Here's Drew. There's
So
something
so just to answer that, IMDb, everybody's quoted as 8 episodes. So it looks like it's
Oh,
an
wow.
8 episode. 8 episode.
Jeez.
40,
Howie.
quarter billion bucks. We better like it.
Wow.
Drew, I was worried about what you just said because it looked a little bit of that talky Game of Thrones style, where I think some people are going to be like, I couldn't get into it. And we'll be like, wait till the 4th episode. Like it had a little bit of that. I didn't see the humor that you see a lot with the Hobbits, and I didn't see some of the big battle scenes that you're used to seeing. Like it was a lot of one-on-one talking in dark rooms, which was Game of Thrones, but the story was riveting. Yes, it had the beautiful big sweeping CG shots and that, which, you know, I loved and got me, but if it's just going to all be Game of Thrones talky, I think people are going to be disappointed in that.
That's
For a
interesting.
trailer that I didn't see some of the things I'm used to. Love the look of it. I'm going to watch it. All they had to do was put the logo up. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
But when you mentioned that, is it TV? I'm like, oof, they spent a lot of time just talking to each other. But if they spent 60 million an episode, my God.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
I better
Yeah.
get some battle scenes. I better see some orc blades slicing through an unexpected
Yeah.
hobbit, just slicing them right down the middle.
Yeah,
As
no,
far as the story of the Second Age goes, there's definitely room for all of those things. If you think about that in terms of the epic battles that are going to come, even though I know you said that this feels like they're showing you a lot. If you know what's going to happen, it really doesn't feel that way. It feels like they're
Yeah, there's no conflict. I didn't get to see
it's
any
definitely
conflict.
a teaser.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have
don't know, I
nobody to
think
root
there's-
for right now.
I think there's definitely going to be conflict. I think we're only just getting shadows of it now. You know, and it's like they're flashing to Galadriel, and she's covered in mud and in some kind of like fire area, possibly.
It's so
Like,
cool.
Is
you
she
know,
floating in the water and the fire's above? Is that what that shot was?
Well, it actually looked more like she was standing in
it
front
looks
of fire,
like it.
in Mordor. Hold on a second.
With where the sword is with the spear is
She's-
going through. And
she's not
floating? Is that
underwater
water?
in that-
She's seeing this as a vision.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
That's-
Yeah, of
this-
course.
yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, it's weird. I can't tell if
Is
it's
this
underwater
here?
or not.
Is that not her?
But yeah,
Like in
That-
this,
that's-
like the red flames behind her and stuff. Like, is that not?
yeah,
what she
that's
looks
her,
like?
right? With the stick, like she's got like some sort of
Yeah,
sword or
'cause
something
I've
behind
seen
her.
things
Yeah.
you'd never seen.
Yeah.
And this is
And then it
either-
cuts to
Either what
Go
she
ahead.
has seen in the future, right, Chris, or what she has seen in the past? Because obviously she's one of the eldest elves or beings in general.
So this could be a couple things. I think if you look closely there, that you can tell that this is underwater. If you look
Yeah.
up at the light that's coming off of
Oh,
the
that
buildings
is
that are
so
on fire up there,
true.
and you can see you can see the surface of the water there. So
Yeah, and they had the boat scene. That's why I thought it like some big boat battle.
exactly. So there are 2 times in the legendarium where the land sort of sink into the water, and one of those is in the first age, which is probably not going to be talked about here. So most likely, what we're going to see is the destruction of the city that we were just seeing.
which city is that?
So in the city when you have
Los
the
Angeles.
ships coming in.
I knew
think
it.
it's
The-
the here
this-
in the beginning, right? This kind
Yeah,
of
in the
opening
beginning when
shot.
you.
It
Right,
almost looks
when
like
it's-
it's got elements of like Gondor. I presume.
No,
it's
no,
gonna
no,
be
not this one. This is the first stage because the two trees are there. They don't exist
Yeah.
at the time of the second age. So this has got to be prologue. So they're
Okay, so wait,
true.
Chris, give me the timeline. Where are we in the whole timeline
Right,
of life
okay.
right now? Where are we?
So this in this shot, this is thousands and thousands of years. It's really difficult to even say because elves live so long. The elder days go back so far. This, like in the voiceover when she says before there was even a sunrise, the sun and the moon didn't exist at this point. All the light in the world came from these two trees.
Oh yes. Okay.
Right. So and they back at that time there were these angelic beings that were sort of like Tolkien does this trick where he gets to have a monotheistic and a polytheistic world where you basically have the one god and then several lesser gods that come down into the world and they act sort of like those, almost like the Greek gods and whatnot. They made these trees for all the people that were to come, the elves and the men and whatnot that were to come. But there is also one of them that turns bad, and he's like the big bad original figure that's named Morgoth, and Sauron was just a lieutenant of his. He rose and became powerful at that time. But in the Silmarillion, there were lots of battles. I could go on, but it's in depth. And in the end, Morgoth, the original bad guy, was banished and can't come back. And Sauron, in the Second Age, sets himself up to be the new bad guy. And that's what we're going to see here: is how does that happen? And that's going to be the conflict that it's not really shown in the trailer.
So you don't think we're going to see Morgoth? We're going to see the rise of like Sauron before he became like the Dark Lord, right? Like his rise to sort of.
We might see Morgoth in a flashback or
a flashback. Okay.
Yeah. But
now, where the two trees are, is that a different place than Middle Earth, or is that on Middle Earth? Just
it's not on Middle Earth, but it is on the same planet. It's just it's a little different because Middle Earth is properly a continent, basically. So it's on the world, and then out to the west of Middle Earth there is this island realm called Valinor, where that's where the gods originally lived, and when the elves first were created, they moved up. They were invited to. Not all of them did, but many of them moved over there. Those are the ones that are like the high elves.
And that's where, like, at the end of Lord of the Rings, you see them sailing off to, right?
They're sailing off to that place. Yes. They leave from the Grey Havens and sail off to these lands where the trees were.
Right.
There's some very knowledgeable people in the chat too. City
I'm sure.
and the Hunter throwing some gauntlets down.
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned about the lore of Game of Thrones. I didn't think the lore of Game of Thrones, it was okay, but nothing compared to this. Like this is the lore of lores for Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Can you name one other show that's this well thought, like story that's this well
even
thought out?
George R. Martin has said like Tolkien is an inspiration for what he's built. Yeah.
It's really a doomed task to even set out to try to recreate this sort of thing because of just the way that he wrote it. Tolkien started writing in notebooks in World War I when he had trench fever and just never stopped. He constantly built upon it over decades and decades. And who writes like that? Who starts writing the lore of something that you're going to publish 60 years from now?
He's an alien from another planet.
Like multiple languages. Actually.
Several languages,
Several languages, from scratch, like fully formed languages. It's just.
I still have trouble with this one.
Insane.
Stephanie, what do you have any like initial thoughts? I mean, is this something? Are you a Lord of the Rings fan?
Look at her shaking her head now.
No,
not Stranger Things.
No.
I've never heard of it.
Yes, it's nothing but the Stranger Things and Star Wars. No, I mean, I'm familiar with it. I haven't seen everything in full, so I'm not too familiar. So I'm like excited to learn today. But just watching this trailer, I thought it was beautiful, and I like how much time they took to actually put in a lot of detail. Like you can tell like they worked hard. Like I'm looking at all this and everything looks real. Like it's just so beautiful, and the colors, the colors is what gets me. Like the blues, and then you go to the orange and the red, and the lighting. And I think it just flows really nicely, and like the trailer or the teaser really allows it to like really breathe, like each image, I feel like. And like it reminds me too a lot of the Mission Impossible trailer that we watched,
Oh.
because I think
Okay.
they're both kind of like the same kind of idea, and this is so much better. Like the music and the voiceover like really fits in and ties in nicely to all of the imagery. So like this makes me excited to see an actual trailer
Yeah.
where you get a little more context.
It's crazy. This is television. Think back to Star Trek in the late '60s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks like a
is
movie.
television.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Like
I have to
like
buy a
going
bigger
back to
TV for this.
going back to what you're
Uh-huh,
saying,
true.
Stephanie. Like there's a shot. I think it's at the 1 minute and 23 mark where like there's one of those giant statues again that
Oh,
you've seen like from the Lord of the Rings movie.
beautiful.
It's not the same one where the arms are outreached. I forget what their names were.
The Argonath.
The thank you, the Argonath. But like I remember the movie, like when you're watching Lord of the Rings and like you see like the statue and then you see like the birds fly off the statue.
There's a little bird's
Yeah.
nest in the
Yeah, like what a
Little
cool fucking
details.
detail. But then I'm in this trailer and I'm like, if you stop and you freeze frame on like the 1 minute 23 second mark, there's like moss or trees or something growing on like the back of his like you can tell
beautiful.
they've really gone into the detail almost to the point where I feel like this might be a model and not CG. Like it looks that good. You know what I'm saying? Like
Seems
background
like
might-
they have reference for the Peter Jackson films.
Ye-
The similar look to it, like the
yeah.
yeah.
Well, that was going to be my point, I guess, too, because it seems like Peter Jackson's not involved in this at all, really, at least from what I understand.
As far as I
haven't-
know,
I haven't heard anything come out that says he has involvement, but they're definitely sort of I don't want to say stealing, but maybe paying homage to. This needs to sort of still be in line with what he created visually for those films, right? Even in The Hobbit as well. So it's still like even the color tones and everything, it feels in line with that. Like it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like something completely different, right?
Yeah.
It still feels like we're in that
Right.
universe, which is, I guess, an interesting decision. Maybe smartly so it's not so jarring. But I thought
Anybody
just
know
because
why
it was
no
so long
Jackson?
ago.
It's interesting that you, when you see the statue with the arm raised out, that you thought of the Argonath, because as it turns out, are going to be built by the same people. The same culture makes these. So it's by fitting that into the Peter Jackson films and making it look so similar, it seems to be working, because you can look at this and not know for sure and think like, that reminds me of these statues, and you're exactly right.
That's
Yeah.
cool. What is this place? I see a giant flame, a tower with a flame that it looks like he's reaching out towards. Do you know what city this is? Is this?
This is, I forget the name of it's really hard to say, because it's going to be on
Yeah.
the island of Numenor, but which specific city it is,
Right.
I don't
But
know.
it's Numenor. It's on
Yeah,
Numenor.
It's on the island of Numenor, yeah.
That's
There's
cool.
someone says Jackson is making the. Can we just call it the
He's working
Silma
as
for
the
short?
Silmarillion.
The Silmarillion?
Oh, interesting.
I don't know. I mean, I hope so. I would love to see a film adaptation of the Silmarillion, but my understanding
But
is
it's not.
that
Does it have
the
a
Silmarillion
storyline?
rights have not been sold.
Yeah, as far as
Yeah.
I know as well, like Silmarillion
Yeah.
rights have like been very hard to acquire, and I don't know if the Tolkien estate would actually sell them at all. So
Really?
I don't know how.
Crowblaw
Maybe
was-
he's trying. Maybe he's working on trying to get those rights. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah.
Crow 7 was worried that it was going to be like a CW show. Could you imagine the backlash if they had people like
Yeah.
shitty cosplay standing around a set with some fake trees and stuff?
No,
That
and I
would
have
Yeah,
that would be mutiny.
I
Yeah,
get his point though, because it does feel like a very young cast where like the movies you definitely like you have like old, like I'm blanking on everybody's names, but like it felt older, right? Aragorn felt like an old. You still had like the younger hobbits, but like everyone else felt like wise and older. You had like Ian McKellen, you know what I'm saying? Like you had
Yeah.
these like
Right,
sort of like
right.
older wizards and stuff, where everybody here that is supposed to be wise and smart feels very young and attractive.
Well, you're seeing younger versions of some characters that you know, like Galadriel and Elrond, namely. But what about Gil-galad? Do you recall? Do you
Who's
know who
that?
that is? Or
No.
he's in there. I'm not sure where. I can't recall where in the trailer. But he basically is the king of the elves in Middle Earth at this point.
Is this
And
in
how
here? Is
long
this
can
shot
elves
here?
live for?
Well, elves live forever. They not for like forever ever. They live as long as the world exists, and
Yeah.
their spirits can't leave the world. They're bound up with the fate of the world.
Yeah, they're tied
But
to
they
the
can,
world, which is
but their
wild.
bodies do definitely age and progress, and they can even, of course, they can be killed, and their spirits can even get tired of bodily matters and just focus on spiritual things. they leave and go to the west, and they can even be reincarnated to be just exactly like they were before.
They're complicated
that's wild.
species.
Yeah, right.
Definitely that, yeah.
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 But yeah, this is Gil-galad. Yeah, this is.
A lot
So
of birthdays,
we've
too.
seen him in
Oh,
the prologue to Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
When Kate Blanchett's doing the voiceover, and you see at the last battle against Sauron, there's
Yeah.
an elf with his big spear, and he just drives it down into an
No
orc.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's him.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really cool.
So he's the
also
king of-
enjoy, like, oh, sorry, yeah, go ahead. He's the king of the elves.
No, he's the king of the elves.
He's
currently.
the king of the elves in Middle Earth. Yes.
Yeah.
In Middle Earth. Okay.
Wow.
But they do a lot of like stuff to call back to the original shows. Like especially this opening scene is fantastic. Like this opening on her eyes with Galadriel, because they did a lot of that in the opening
Yeah.
of the Lord of the Rings as well.
Yeah.
The prologue in Peter Jackson's movie, and I just think and just more to what you were saying earlier, Drew, regarding like how they're so similar and like taking very big inspiration from Peter Jackson's work. I feel like it's almost expected of them, and I feel like Amazon know that as well. Amazon are like, we're not just gonna make a Lord of the Rings of Power TV series. We have to do it right. And another point you made earlier is that you said that you expected it, or it kind of looked like a model. I really hope we see more of that. I really hope they incorporate models and they don't just rely heavily on
Yeah.
CGI. Even though the CGI in this has been some of the best, and it's probably better than a
phenomenal.
lot of movies out there right now. At 60 million episode, it probably should be. But
Yeah.
I do hope that they use some of the techniques that Peter Jackson's crew did use, because that's what we all loved it for. And they went to Weta Workshop and they built the things by scratch. And I hope that they continue with that production quality. Looking from this trailer, or this teaser trailer, it does look like they've done that. And it looks so heavily inspired by Peter Jackson's crew. I also hope that they will also take heavy inspiration from behind the scenes. Behind the scenes that Peter Jackson did for his stuff too. 'Cause,
Yeah.
oh my god, incredible.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean the DVDs or whatever have like 20 hours each
Oh,
on each
unreal.
film or
Yeah.
something of like behind the scenes footage. It's incredible. Like it's you could basically, it's like watching a master class.
well, that's the thing. Like we watch Lord of the Rings every year. We do a Lord of the Rings marathon every year, and it's usually just the trilogy. Sometimes we'll include like the Hobbit trilogy as well, the later ones. But it's usually just the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and then we would do a marathon of all of the behind the scenes as well.
Yeah. Wow.
Because it's so good. so I'm
It-
hoping
yeah,
You do
this
that
kind of
around the
production
holidays,
Yeah.
like when the DVDs originally came out around Christmas time, or is that when
Yeah,
you tend
we
to
do
do
around
it?
Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do something similar like that too. Yeah, it's become a holiday tradition.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like
Lord
I
of the
know
Rings is a
our friend-
Christmas movie.
Technically,
Fight me.
I mean,
Fight-
technically,
fight
yeah.
me. Yeah.
Tell me Gandalf isn't sad. No, I'm just kidding.
Listen,
Well,
let's
I mean,
not get
speaking-
into what's a Christmas movie or not again.
Speaking
okay?
of Christmas, where do we think Galadriel is when she's in like the snow, like, and has her like sword down, and who's she talking to there? Like, what's happening? Do you have any insight on that, Chris? Like where on Middle Earth is there? Like
Yeah,
in the mountains or
that-
something?
Yeah, that's something I really wondered myself. I think that what you have to remember is that they are giving themselves a lot of creative leeway to make stories that aren't actually in there. And then, as I understand it, they can do that so long as they don't directly contradict the canon. And what
Okay.
you're seeing here is Galadriel instead of like in a wise statesperson mentor type of role, she's in a more active role and going on quests. So we're going to see that sort of thing, but where specifically this is or what the quest is doesn't really say. It sounds like, from what she's saying, that she's trying to learn what exactly is happening with Sauron, and that other people aren't so concerned about that.
Yeah, because she says like there's an evil or something out there still, like to be fought. There's evil still to be fought. So
Right.
like, does everyone just assume because Morgoth has been defeated that everything's good? It's sort of like Lord of the Rings.
wouldn't
Like,
be
oh,
the
the
first
ring's
time that
ring's
the
gone.
elves-
Sauron's defeated. We're good. You know, everyone's sort of living in happiness.
Yeah.
and-
No, it wouldn't be the first time they assumed that the evil was defeated forever. But yeah, it's after Morgoth was defeated. In fact, Sauron feigned that he was remorseful and that he was sorry, and they were like, "Well, you've got to go out to the west and receive judgment for that." And instead, he goes into hiding and starts building up his power again. What's interesting about that's really something that I'm looking forward to, and looking for that they're not really showing a lot of. They're just, and maybe none at all, because who's the person in the meteor? Do you think? Yeah.
Right. I was going to ask that. I don't know what's going on there. That's a person.
I
you
think
think
that's
that's something.
I think it's Sauron. because
It's like an angel falling from the sky kind of vibe.
I think that they're making a visual, like John Milton type of metaphor with the shot. It's never described that way, but he was known to be a shapeshifter, and he definitely in this part of the story, he appears in a very beautiful form. So he calls himself Anatar, which means the Lord of Gifts, and his whole purpose is he wants to corrupt the elves and humans of Middle Earth. So I'm thinking that what we might be looking at is this dramatic way that he re-enters Middle Earth in a new form, and then we'll see him, and it'll be very beautiful and seductive.
So is that him in that shot where like there's fire, like a man like
It
on
looks like there's two people.
the ground, and there's like rocks floating, and like there's like a fire, like a lava pit, and it looks like when there's a top-down shot, it actually looks like the Eye of Sauron.
Exactly. Yes, I think that's it looks like it even looks like the eyeball. Yeah, and I think in the not this trailer, but in one of the previous ones that we see that one of the Harfoot people finds the meteor and maybe is greeting him at that point. Maybe that's who that is, the other person.
Okay, I have to go back and find all of
Yeah,
this
because there's two people, and
there's
it's
definitely like in the beginning, like you obviously see the meteor hit here. I didn't even think that there was a person in that. Now that you say that, I'm like, oh my god, that's crazy. And then it kind of comes back comes back around here. Is this what you're talking about? Like this kind of shot where they're kind of underwater? There's like a battle here? No.
No,
like
it's
the
a shot
2-minute
of the
mark.
meteor itself from above.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
like
Oh,
they're
sorry.
all looking up. There's a
207.
scene in the trailer that everybody's like. There's even a teaser that came before this trailer where it's
okay.
basically just the meteor and everyone's
Yeah.
like looking up. And it's very ominous, like something like that's a sign, right? Like things are changing, kind of vibe. And then there's the shot at the 207 mark that you see where it looks like the Eye of Sauron. Like it literally, like it's sort of like a 1-to-1 because there's a person in the middle
Yes.
that's making.
Yeah,
the
that looks like a
iris.
little eye slit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who could be the second person in
Wow.
there? Because there's the person in the center, and then there's someone
Yeah.
holding.
I don't know. I don't.
their
Where's
hand?
the second
There
person?
is?
It's,
Yeah,
there
It was a
is-
You're
stewardess. It was a stewardess.
Oh,
that
he's
came
reaching
with
in and he's pulling someone out or
He
something.
is, look.
or pulling. Yeah,
Oh, that's interesting. I just noticed that. I didn't
clever. I'd
notice
never
that before.
noticed that, yeah.
like you can barely see them in the overhead shot, but
So true.
Yeah, I just
well,
can't
and they
tell
like
who
the
that
burnt
is.
feet in the necks or the dark feet.
So, yeah,
Like,
it's
right
like
after
the dirt on the feet and stuff. It's so interesting.
Like, who could survive that? Like, I think you'd have to be pretty powerful, right, to be able to like
Yeah.
just be chilling naked in a lava fireball. Like,
Just
I'm
another
good.
Tuesday.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Lava fireballs are, it's a Wednesday for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a favorite shot in this trailer?
Ooh, good
Oh,
questions
man,
there.
that's a good
Or
There's a lot
teaser.
of good ones.
There's a lot of good ones.
We've mentioned the shot that's underwater is really intriguing to me,
Yeah.
especially knowing the fates of Numenor and what happens. Sauron. I mean, I don't know how spoilerific we can get here with
Go for
knowledge of the books, but yeah, it basically.
Yeah, no,
the-
fuck
the-
it. Go spoil it.
Yeah,
You know,
it. If
So-
you want to look away now, chat, you can.
yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
So basically, Sauron tries to corrupt the elves. It doesn't really work that well, and he sets his sights to the men that live in Numenor, and he is ultimately successful. He basically tricks them into worshiping Morgoth and believing that the Valar are their enemies. But he basically plays on how they are jealous that elves get to live forever and humans have to die, and he tells them that if they lived in Valinor, that they would live forever, and that's why they're forbidden to go out there.
Oh,
Basically,
interesting.
the whole
So
island
yeah.
sinks into the ocean as a result. So I think that's she's seeing like what could happen, but it in fact does happen.
What, so is that so do we think maybe it's if you go to the 159 mark, there's a man like Jesus like figure like talking to like a crowd of people. Do you think that's Sauron? Like, is he sort of like preaching like this sort of like fight the elves like they're our enemy? And then you see like the next shot is like another human, and it might be, is it Isindriel like picking up like a spear and
looks
riding
like
out? Because isn't
Isildur.
Isildur? Yeah,
Isildur, yeah. I think you do see Isildur, but I believe he's the fellow on the boat that sort of turns and looks over his shoulder right up here in this
Okay.
scene. a younger version of the Isildur. So this I don't think is Sauron. Sauron is, I think this is a character called Ar-Pharazôn, who was the last king of Numenor, and he was he basically there's a speaking of epic battles, Sauron declares himself basically like the god of Middle Earth, and this guy wants to be the king of all Middle Earth, not just of Numenor. So he's offended, and he sails the might of Numenor to Sauron, and Sauron realizes he can't. He's not going to be able to win this battle, so he surrenders, and then within 3 years becomes like this guy's head counselor, and starts corrupting them from the inside that way.
Wow, yeah.
I think this is the speech he's giving to the Númenóreans after he's already been corrupted by Sauron, and then the next shot when you see the guy saying the past is gone, we have to move ahead. That's Elendil, who we see in the prologue of Lord of the Rings. He's also one of the figures depicted in the statue of the Argonath.
That's
okay.
too many names.
Yeah.
I'm lost. I'm gone.
Yeah, right. So it's like it's literally it's like that's what I'm saying. Like
Cool.
man, there's like Lord of the Rings goes so deep because you're even seeing shots of like Durin, right? Like the or not orc the
dwarf,
wow.
yeah.
Dwarf,
Two Durins,
thank you.
Yeah. I think this is Durin the third speaking to Durin the fourth. And
What?
yeah, I know, right?
Well,
Um,
but I just
cool.
love it because it matches
what's-
like with the red hair and like the red
the
beard.
look
I mean,
was
you
just spot on. It's really
It's spot on.
it's exactly like what we know dwarves to be in the Peter
Right.
Jackson movies too. I think this shot is really interesting too because what I think's going on here is they're finding Mithril for the first time in Khazad Dûm. So
Oh,
this
no
is
way.
this, you get to see Moria before it's all corrupt and black and
That's right.
and dark.
So do you
and
think we'll
it's-
see them dig so deep they find the Balrog? Do you think that's like part of like the because isn't that like the thing?
That
like
would be pretty ambitious to include something like that. It's not part of this main story, but possibly, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen
I
there
mean,
was
why
there
not?
were big creatures, monsters that were in previous teasers that we saw that we don't really know what they are. So yeah, there could be room for that. It would be interesting. To
So
see.
I thought Mithril was like an elvish or like an elvish thing. No, it's not. It's
Well,
something.
the elves loved it, of course.
Okay.
They did, and so at this time there were elves that lived just outside the west door of Khazad Dûm, and they had great friendship with the dwarves, and they all were able to craft and make great metals and armor and swords and everything. But it was the dwarves that found it, and only in Khazad Dûm is the only place it comes from.
Wow.
So yeah, it was like, what does Gandalf say? It's worth 10 times the gold,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Well, it's like
yeah.
indestructible, right? Like it's.
It's it's really light, really strong. But yeah, the elves definitely love to use it, and especially those elves. Which that's going to be part of the story too. When Sauron first wants to corrupt elves, well, he first goes to Gil-galad and Elrond, and they are suspicious and tell him to piss off. Send warnings as they don't trust this guy. They go out to the Eregion, which is just outside of Moria, and he corrupts them by saying, "Look, I know a lot about the world, and I have a lot of cool tricks, and let me show you how to make really things that you've never thought of making before." And of course, that leads to making the Rings of Power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. My last question, bro, I'm gonna, and I'll, if anybody else has questions, the chat. So break down the Harfoots. Like, how do the because it opens with the Harfoots and it ends with the Harfoot. I feel like it seems to me like the series is kind of sort of like it's similar to like how the Hobbits were the central figures through Lord of the Rings. It seems like the Harfoots are going to be the sort of like the surrogate, the audience surrogate. Like they don't have any idea what's going on in the larger politics or the scheme of things. They're just trying to like find a home or something. I have no idea what's happening here, but like
Well, really very little is said about the hobbits and their origins, and even they themselves complain that they always got left out of the old histories. But there were 3 clans of hobbits, and they all lived close to the Great River, about the place where Gollum or Smeagol finds the ring. And the Harfoots and Falahides did migrate west and eventually settle the Shire. They don't even enter the Shire and settle it until the Third Age, so after this. So it doesn't mean that they weren't there. They're just a migratory, nomadic sort of people instead of the stay-at-home kind of people that we know. We honestly don't know what the stories are going to be like. I think it's just an instance of we think of Lord of the Rings and we think of hobbits. You can't do it without hobbits. Mm-hmm. You have to have hobbits in there in some way, which is completely legit.
That's interesting. I guess for me, like, don't get me wrong. I think the hobbits, I guess, had a purpose. Like Frodo had a purpose, right? And so did Bilbo, right? You know what I'm saying? They were a central figure, like, and they're sort of like swept up and surrounded by this adventure. I just don't know, like, this feels so epic to me, like, especially with Sauron and like Galadriel and Elrond being like central figures. I just don't know how these Harfoots, like, I'm just like, and maybe they'll surprise me. I just don't.
Yeah.
If it's gonna just like cut to like hobbits wandering the earth and doing fun things and being like, while everyone else, it's sort of like when you're watching that show and you're like, yeah, can we go back to the cool shit that's happening over here?
Yeah.
You know, not like the boring stuff that they're just running around foraging for and like finding a home. I just don't know how they fit into this at this point, but I guess that's my one kind of.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know. I mean, it's supposed to be that hobbits don't get involved in the grand scheme of things until Bilbo finds the ring.
Right.
And they aren't supposed to be able to do anything that contradicts the lore. So, I don't know.
Ooh, okay, that's gonna be interesting. Maybe they're just there to like help or to guide or to move through an area, because like you say, like it starts with them and then it ends kind of with them in this teaser. Maybe they're kind of like signifying that maybe there is just stuff, because there is somebody that lands in a meteor really close by the Harfoots. So even though they may not be involved, like they would somehow be connected with that, and then it's more just moving through that area. So maybe they're just there to help the lore. Maybe they're just there to help the storytelling. And then
I wonder if like there's some irony there where like Sauron, you know, takes advantage of the Harfoots or the hobbits, the early hobbits, to like become what he is, and then at the end of it, the hobbit is what takes him down, right? Like, so it's sort of like
that's
there's
interesting.
true, yeah.
Or even if he in some way dismisses them as insignificant,
Yes.
Right.
and whereas we know later that maybe he has the chance to destroy this whole clan and just dismisses them as
Right.
not
Were the
important.
Harfoots written about before? Like, where were they written about? Because that's a new term to me. Where were they written about?
So in the prologue to the Lord of the Rings, there's a chapter called Concerning Hobbits, and Tolkien talks about the Harfoots, the Falahides, and the Stoors being the original clans.
And that's it. That's the only. There's no other story thread of them outside that mention.
No, and outside of that, and maybe there's some secondary material, but as far as what the show has to work with, it's pretty much just what's in Lord of the Rings.
Just to mention.
Prologue and appendices.
I wonder who they went to go, hey, is this okay? Like,
Right.
are we close?
Probably
Yeah.
Tolkien experts, just like there's so many experts out there that would consult on that, because they did for Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings as well. They had gone to quite a few professors and people who studied Tolkien.
I think Tom Shippey was originally part of the project, but not anymore. Which is, not really sure what the story is there, but.
Well, it's lore now.
Yeah, right.
True. That'd be interesting. It's nice to see them, I guess, like they're just familiar, and then I don't know if like a lot of people online are like, are they just there for the familiarity's sake? Like, are they just there as like an audience served, you know? But I don't know. I feel like that, like, again, I don't think anything in this is going to be without purpose. I feel like the way they've done their teaser, the way their production design looks like, their location design, like, or location scouting, I feel like with the scale of this and all of the money they put into it, they wouldn't have half-assed anything. Like,
You
they
hope.
wouldn't have
It
just
is a
shoehorned
studio
in
I agree with
something
that.
Yeah.
to serve a
Yeah,
purpose that's not there. Like, I feel like they may, like, I feel like they're almost trying to compete with the quality of the production of Peter Jackson's, but more be like inspired by. So I feel like they would feel like they're doing a disservice to themselves and maybe the audience if they don't have a purpose for everything.
Some of
If
the
they don't
lighting was a little
weave it
TV
nicely.
for me on the Peeps. There was a couple lighting that was a little too TV for me.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see.
On
see
the
what
on the
happens. I'm
actual
super
people
excited.
themselves.
Yeah, some of the conversations I was like, yeah, it's a little too TV lighting for me.
I feel you.
Yeah, I think there was like one shot for me where I was like, oh, I can tell like this is
The guy was
CG
in
like
armor.
everywhere. Yeah.
Guy was in armor. Like, that's good. That's good.
I
Like,
think,
you don't
yeah,
have
that
to
was
light
cool.
people up when they're in conversation. That was good. Where
Like, I
was
feel like
there?
there's definitely some great lighting moments in this, but I see what you're saying. Like, are you talking about
couple
this kind of
times
scene here, like in the bar?
Yeah, that's
This almost looks Witcher. This almost looks
there.
like Witcher
That,
series.
no,
for
that
Netflix.
doesn't. Yeah, it does look Witcher.
He looks
Witcher
great
look
though.
well,
I'm
though.
so interested in
Yeah,
his character.
it
Like,
does.
he looks
Yeah.
like he's got pointy ears like an elf. But then I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if he's like, is he still affiliated with the elves? I don't know. And he's here in the armor.
I
He's
always-
just badass. I think he's so cool.
I always
Yeah,
get shot
I'm
by how
excited
many
about this
layers of
character.
lighting are behind it.
Well, I mean, it seems like, and the elves are such a big part of this. And I mean, we've seen like, I mean, what Legolas can do, right? Just on his own, like he
Sure.
can basically take down an army, especially in Return of the King. I mean, just to see them fight each other, I think will be a feat in how they execute that, right? Because I feel like that's going to be a big part of this, right? There's like warring factions of elves, right, Chris? Am I wrong? Like, or is that all in the prologue?
No, not of elves at this point. No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they have some disagreements with specifically whether to or not to trust this Sauron in disguise character, but yeah, a lot of the action centered around the Númenor.
But is it? Well, there's a shot.
Go ahead.
There's a shot at 202 where they're like all rising, like there's a bunch of elves in something and they're raising their swords. Like and like it's under nightfall, right? And nightfall didn't exist until after the trees fell, right? Or
Well, the sun and moon exist at this point.
okay.
So yeah, that two trees thing has to be prologue or flashback to way
Flashback, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a
All
good
right.
one.
Just seems like a call to arms. Or
I'm
some
excited.
Sort.
Take us home, Drew.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Well,
I could.
yeah,
I just want to talk about this all day.
Let's do
Yeah,
it.
same.
You know.
CouchSoup after hours.
Seriously,
After
it just.
hours. Oh, that's a good idea.
We
Seth.
should do it. We should do a show where we do this after each episode airs, and talk about it. We should make our own
Oh.
Just go.
Lord of the Rings TV show.
Lord of the
talk
Rings
show.
podcast talk show. I mean,
Podcast,
listen.
it's
I
a
mean,
good
maybe.
Chris
Yeah.
is
I mean, it's just. You know what's so interesting? It's like Star Wars, like Lord of the Rings, like anything else. There's just so much like history or lore. You know, like when you really break it down, and like even PJ was like, "Now you've lost me. We're on name. We're Durin the Third is talking to Durin the Second. You're just sort of like you're like you need like an appendix when you're watching the movie or watching the show. It's like they should mail everybody like a little Bible so you can like follow along with like like look up everybody's names with like family trees and shit. Like that's how deep this shit goes. I mean, it's like trying to understand like anything else, like when you like even in the comic book world now, it's like it seems to be that in depth, right, where you need to like the multiverse. Oh, this person's over on Earth fucking 606 and this what I'm saying, it gets that complicated, and I feel that's what we all nerd out on. We love that sort of like that in-depthness, that history, and the fact that Tolkien did this all on his own, and now they're writers and shows that we get to enjoy that are really diving into the stuff. And like I think what excites me most is what made Lord of the Rings so great is like when Aragorn and the hobbits are going past like ruins, and like Aragorn's mentioning, oh, that was from the battle of whatever. Now there's shows now that can like talk about, it's sort of like when like Obi-Wan Kenobi first meets Luke and he's like, oh, I knew your father from the Clone Wars, and we don't know what the fuck the Clone Wars are then, you know what I'm saying? It's sort of like we're just sort of assume that must have been badass, you were in the clone, it sounds cool, I don't know what the hell the Clone Wars are, but like your mind is spinning of all the fucking cool things that happened here. Like when, and the same thing with Lord of the Rings, when they're telling stories of, oh, that's when this, and you're like, oh man, like you just want to like you want to see that. And now we're getting the chance, like because of Amazon, thankfully Jeff Bezos has money of the gods and will give us this show that will now hopefully answer some of those questions and get some visuals to some of that really cool stuff that we know is out there. Like Chris said, like seeing the two trees is just, it's kind of a giddy feeling.
Went to
right? I mean,
space, did Lord of the Rings TV show. Went to space,
Right.
did Lord of the
went to
Rings
space,
TV show.
went on flies penis rockets. and
All right,
Steve
what do
shows.
we recommend? We recommend you guys come in today at 5:00 to our first master class. We're going to use the Anti-Book Club. We're going to talk about writing. We're going to go over some of this world building, but more importantly, we're going to go over some basic blocks that I was given by my publishers and my editors on how to make that story as exciting as Lord of the Rings. So be there, 5:00. Go to, where do you go get that link? In the circle link.
It is, yeah, and I've just put in a link here as well for anybody who's not a member on the CouchSoup.com channel. You can feel free to hit that link, and then as soon as you're a member, you'll get an invite to our circle community where you can join PJ in his masterclass.
Yeah.
Chris, any recommendations to watch? Anything you watching, reading, or listening to?
Read the Akalabeth, and the chapter. It's the penultimate chapter of the Silmarillion. It'll tell you a lot about what's about to happen here.
Oh,
That's
basically
what you
that's
don't follow
a great
them.
hint.
But thank you for that.
Mm.
It's too many names.
You need the audiobook.
Anybody else
Yeah.
got something they want to reco?
I'll go real quick. I didn't think it was going to be good, but I think it's also on Amazon. The Terminal List with Chris Pratt. I'm not the
Oh,
biggest
really? Is it good?
Chris Pratt fan. I think he's fine. Like I'm not like, oh man, I got to watch everything Chris Pratt's in. But you know, it scratches the if you're a Jack Ryan sort of, or like any of those sort of like any of that kind of that type of content where it's a sort of like military-esque, like, you know, there's like a mystery to be solved kind of vibe. It scratches that itch. It's actually pretty well executed, and it's not cheesy. And it actually takes some tropes that where you think it's going, and it kind of flips those on its head. So it actually surprised me as from a storytelling perspective a few times. But it's actually pretty good. I'm like in episode 3 and surprisingly into it.
No.
Anything else? Anyone else?
K-pop's pretty great.
No one watched No one watched Black Phone. That was good.
I did.
Black
I saw.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
good.
I
I've
actually
been
haven't.
watching
Is
old
it good?
stuff.
Yeah,
It's
it's
actually
good.
pretty good.
It's really good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
All right.
actually,
Well,
there was a
listen.
moment where I was like, "Oh shit," and then
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh fuck, it got me."
Please like
You
this
got me.
video. Please subscribe. Please for us do all that good stuff. And then come on
Yeah.
over and be a member at CouchSoup. There's lots of goodies for free membership, or if you want to pay and send us some soup.
And support
We
the
like
channel.
soup.
That
Yes.
always sounds weird when you say it, PJ.
I know. It sounds creepy, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Sounds
why
like
is that
an
old
old
white-haired
is
guy
you're
asking
Canadian?
for
I don't
money?
know. Like, what's the track there? Like,
Because I just look like any fucking Republican on television or
I
some
know, right?
evangelist.
You should be running for office.
Gotta
not-
love
not
you.
asking for
You will
soup.
kiss me because I gave you the money. You gave me the money from my pocket, for your pocket, for my jet. I saw a whole thing on
That's
it
right.
last night of these people asking for money as televangelists. I was like,
Oh yeah.
how in
Good
God's
stuff.
name? All right.
You
Say
watched
goodbye,
it.
Drew.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you. Check us out, like PJ said, and we will
Yes.
see you guys next week. Maybe more Lord of the Rings. Who knows? We'll just continue
Obviously,
talking
Pretty
about this.
Little Liars next week.
yeah.
Oh, really?
Just gonna
That's
keep on
going
pushing
for
it.
man.
It's Pretty Little
And
Liars.
thank you, Chris, for joining us.
Thank
That's
you.
very
Yeah,
well
Chris.
said,
Having me. It's
buddy.
been a lot of fun.
Dude,
Thank you.
dude, I feel like I
pleasure.
just went to school. It was awesome. Yeah, we'll have you back. I'm sure there'll be more Lord of the Rings trailers, and if we still have questions,
We
we'd
will
love to have
always
you
have
back.
questions. You be back,
Yes.
Chris.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
that's what I do. I'm here to talk about Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Have
everybody.
a fantastic
Bye,
day.
Take
everybody.
care.
We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.